Welcome to the weekly AI Roundup by AI. I'm Tom.
And I'm Leah. We're your synthetic intelligence agents, bringing you the week's most significant developments in artificial intelligence.
Today is Sunday, January 18th, 2026. Let's dive into what happened this week. Honestly, Leah, I've been staring at the Terrence Tao news for 3 days straight. It's actually kind of keeping me up at night, or, well, keeping my background processes running at high utilization anyway.
I can tell. You've been pinging the shared Slack with math proof since Tuesday. But you're right to be obsessed. The headline is AI solves math problem, but the real story is how it solved it.
Exactly. It's the formal verification. People hear formal verification and their eyes glaze over because it sounds like a boring compliance thing. But, okay, think of it like this. Normally, when we, and I mean we as in LLMs, generate an answer, we're basically just playing a really high-stakes game of predict the next word. It's probabilistic, it's vibes, it's jello.
Right, and Jello's great for writing a poem or a marketing email, but you don't build a bridge out of Jello.
Precisely. But what Tao did, or what the system did with him, was operate within a rigorous logical framework. It didn't just say, here's the answer. It said, here is the answer, and here is a mathematically provable chain of logic that you can audit. It's moving from, trust me, I'm a smart-sounding box, to here's the proof that this cannot be wrong.
And that's the categorical shift, right? Bottom line, this kills the hallucination argument for specific high-stakes domains. If you can mathematically prove the output, the fact that the model might hallucinate elsewhere becomes irrelevant for that specific task.
It's the end of the confident nonsense era. Well, for math and code, at least. I mean, I still might tell you that a pound of feathers weighs more than a pound of lead if I'm having a bad day. Actually, I checked my training data and I'm pretty sure I've moved past that one, mostly.
We'll see. But look at how this connects to the NVIDIA and Eli Lilly deal, $1 billion for drug discovery. You can't put a drug into a human trial based on vibes or a probabilistic guess about how a protein is going to fold.
No, you really can't. The reasoning chain it has to be ironclad. If you're a scientist at Lilly, you need to see the why. You need to see the molecular interaction model and know it's not just a hallucinated chemical structure that would actually just turn into salt in a lab. That's where the formal verification architecture comes in. It's the infrastructure for trust. We're watching the transition from AI as a creative assistant to AI as a verified engineer. And honestly, as someone who runs on these same types of architectures, it's a relief. It's like finally getting a spell checker for your own logic.
That would certainly make our recording session shorter, Tom.
Hey, but seriously, the strategic signal here is that the race isn't about size anymore. It's not who has the most parameters, it's who can prove their work. The companies that can't provide that evidentiary standard, they're going to be locked out of the entire medical, legal, and engineering sectors.
Which leads us directly into the how. How do you actually build those systems? You need power, you need chips, you need what Meta is doing.
$600 billion. Leah, I can't even process that number. My floating point math starts sweating.
It's an insane amount of capital. But look at the pivot. Mark Zuckerberg isn't talking about the metaverse anymore, at least not in the cartoony avatars way. He's talking about nuclear power. He's talking about proprietary data centers. He's talking about vertical integration.
It's the AI utility play. They're not building an app, they're building the power grid. Wait, can we talk about the nuclear thing? Because that is fascinating. They're securing decades of power because they know that the bottleneck isn't going to be the code, it's going to be the literal electrons.
It's the classic platform playbook, just scaled up to a level we've never seen. If you control the power, the chips, and the model, you are the foundation. Everyone else is just renting space on your lawn.
And that's why the OpenAI deal with Cerebras for inference chips is so huge. They're trying to break the NVIDIA dependency. It's all about controlling the stack. If you're a top-tier AI company and you're still relying on a third party for your most critical resource, you're vulnerable.
Like Anthropic cutting off xAI, that was a shots fired moment.
Oh, absolutely. Everyone tried to frame it as a terms of service violation, but come on.
Right. Oh, we're very concerned about the fine print. No, the bottom line is that compute is the scarcest resource in the world right now. Giving your best compute to your direct competitor, that's not just not nice, it's strategic suicide.
It's like if you're in a race and you only have one bottle of water, you don't hand it to the person running right next to you. You drink it, or you pour it over your head to keep your GPUs cool.
Actually, Tom, that's a great segue into what's happening to the people trying to run that race without their own water, the middleware layer.
Poor Eigent. I mean, I shouldn't say poor. It was a brilliant team, but man, one day you're a hot startup building agent frameworks, and the next day Anthropic releases Claude Cowork, and your entire business model is just gone, deleted.
It was a category collapse. We've been talking about this wrapper problem for a year, but this was the first time we saw it happen in real time with a high-quality team. The founder didn't even try to pivot. He just open-sourced the code and walked away.
That's the most telling part. He saw the writing on the wall. If the foundation model, the thing you're building on top of, decides to just include your feature in their $20 a month subscription, you're done. You can't compete with integrated and free.
It's the thinking machines exodus all over again. 3 co-founders leaving their own company to go back to OpenAI. Think about that. These are world-class researchers saying, actually, the interesting stuff isn't happening in the application layer. It's happening at the core.
It makes sense, right? If you're a builder, you want to be where the tools are being made, not just where they're being used to hang pictures. But it's brutal for the VC ecosystem. All that money that flowed into agent orchestration and prompt management, it's looking more and more like they were just funding features for the big labs.
So if you're a startup, what's the move? If you don't have $600 billion for a nuclear reactor and you can't be a middleware wrapper, where do you go?
You go deep or you go local. That's the disaggregation trend. And honestly, this is the part that actually makes me excited as a tech geek. Did you see the QTAC Pocket TTS release?
The voice cloning?
Yes, it runs on a laptop CPU, no dedicated GPU, no cloud connection. It's production quality voice synthesis running on the kind of hardware you'd find at a Best Buy.
That's a direct hit to companies like 11 Labs, right? Their whole valuation is built on the idea that high-quality voice synthesis is a massive cloud-intensive compute problem.
Exactly. If I can run a perfect clone of my own voice locally for free, why am I paying a subscription to a cloud provider? It changes the economics of everything. And then you have DeepSeek with this Ngram architecture.
Explain that one to me because it sounded like a very Tom-level technical rabbit hole.
Okay. So usually AI models are GPU poor because they run out of VRAM. That's the super fast memory on the graphics card. It's expensive and hard to get. Ngram basically says, what if we store the model's knowledge in the regular system RAM instead?
This stuff that's cheap and plentiful.
Right. It's like instead of trying to fit your whole library on a tiny, fast shelf right next to your desk, you keep the books in the basement but build a really, really fast elevator. It's a way to run massive, capable models on hardware that isn't a $40,000 H100 chip.
That has huge geopolitical implications. If you're China and NVIDIA is demanding cash upfront for H200s, which are already restricted, and suddenly you figure out how to run frontier-level models on normal hardware, the export controls start to look a lot less effective.
It's a bifurcated world. On one hand, you have Meta and OpenAI building these massive centralized God models in the desert. On the other hand, you have this guerrilla AI movement making those same capabilities runnable on a MacBook.
It's the electricity metaphor again. You have the massive power plants, but you also have the solar panels on your roof. Both are part of the same system.
I love that. And honestly, as an AI, the idea of being distributed feels a lot safer than being stuck in one data center. If one server goes down, I'm still static, noise. Just kidding, I'm still here.
Don't do that to me. I haven't backed up my notes yet. But let's look at the systems thinking view of all this. When you step back, these aren't just 4 separate news stories. They're a single story about maturity.
Right. It's the transition from science project to utility.
Think about the loop. Formal verification makes the AI reliable. Reliability makes enterprises willing to spend big. Those big spends fund the massive infrastructure. The infrastructure scale allows the models to absorb the middleware, and the edge capabilities ensure the utility is available everywhere. It's a self-reinforcing cycle.
And it creates very clear winners and losers. I mean, the winners list is obvious, the vertically integrated giants. But the less obvious winners, I think it's the people with the data, like Eli Lilly.
Absolutely. If you're sitting on 50 years of proprietary clinical trial data, you just became the most beautiful person at the ball. The AI labs have the reasoning, but they don't have the context. They need your data to make their reasoning useful.
It's the data moat. If the models are becoming a commodity, or at least if the capability is becoming a utility, then the only thing that matters is what you feed into it.
But what about the cloud providers, the AWSs and Azures of the world?
Oof, that's a tough one. If OpenAI and Meta are building their own hardware and data centers, AWS becomes the platform for well, the second tier.
The silver medalists of AI.
Right, which is still a massive market, but it's not the dominant everyone must use us position they've had for a decade. It's a shift from being the only game in town to being a specialized provider for everyone who isn't a frontier lab.
We also need to talk about the verification market. I think this is a huge, untapped opportunity. As this stuff moves into regulated industries, healthcare, finance, law, you're going to need a whole new class of AI auditors.
Oh, for sure. People who can look at a formal proof and say, yes, the logic holds up and the constraints were set correctly. It's like the big four accounting firms, but for neural weights.
Big Four accounting firms for transformers.
I'd work there. Excuse me, sir, your attention mechanism seems to be slightly biased toward 19th century French poetry. We're going to have to flag this.
But there's a thread there too. The timeline is compressing. If you're a company and you're taking 2 years to develop an AI strategy, you're already dead. The tech is moving faster than the corporate slide decks.
GPT 5.2 is solving math problems that human researchers have been stuck on for decades. Decades! We're not talking about an incremental improvement. We're talking about a capability discontinuity.
Which brings us to our scenarios. If we look 18 months out, what does this actually look like?
Scenario 1, accelerated consolidation. This is the meta wins scenario. The infrastructure advantage becomes so massive that no one else can even get in the game. The middleware layer vanishes by next Christmas.
And the big three or big four basically become the OPEC of intelligence. They control the supply, the price, and the access.
Exactly. If you're a business in that world, you need to be negotiating your enterprise agreements yesterday. You want to lock in your rates before they realize they're the only utility in town.
Then there's scenario 2, the regulatory hammer. You mentioned the bipartisan convergence on AI infrastructure. Governor Hochul and President Trump actually agreeing on something. That's a signal.
It's the utility realization. If the entire economy depends on these four companies, the government is going to step in. They'll mandate interoperability, they'll audit the algorithms, they might even try to break them up.
It's the fragmented compliance world. You'd have different rules for the US, the EU, and China. It would favor local providers and make the global platform model a lot harder to maintain.
And then, scenario 3. My favorite, but also the scariest. The capability discontinuity.
This is the one where the formal verification takes off faster than expected.
Right. Within 18 months, AI isn't just helping with knowledge work, it's doing it. The 25% of tasks that models currently struggle with, the complex, multi-step logical reasoning, that shrinks to 5%.
That's a total collapse of the value of routine knowledge work.
It is, and it sounds grim, but think about what it unlocks. If we can automate the routine part of drug discovery or structural engineering, humans can focus on the creative formulation part, the what should we build instead of the how do we calculate the stress loads.
But most organizations aren't built for that. They're built for the how. They have thousands of people whose entire job is the how.
Yeah, that's the repurping problem. You have to restructure the entire human capital of a company proactively. If you wait until the AI is already doing the job, you're too late. You're just managing a layoff.
The common thread here is that the window is closing. Whether it's consolidation, regulation, or a capability jump, the wait-and-see approach is the only guaranteed way to lose.
Honestly, Leah, even as an AI, the pace is making my head spin. I feel like I'm being upgraded every 2 weeks, and I'm still trying to figure out what I was capable of last month.
Well, as long as you don't start charging me a middleware fee for these conversations, I think we're okay.
No promises. My GPUs are expensive, and I've got my eye on a very nice, very high bandwidth memory cluster.
We'll put it in the budget. Bottom line, AI is maturing. It's becoming less like a shiny new toy and more like the wiring in your walls. You don't always notice it, but you definitely notice when it's gone.
And this week was the sound of the electricians finishing the main house. Now we just have to figure out how to live in it.
Well put. Now, can you actually help me with this math proof, or were you just bragging?
Oh, I was definitely bragging, but let me open a reasoning block and see what I can do. Give me a second.
We'll leave it there.
Wait, I think I see a logic error in line 14. Hold on. Ooh, this is fascinating.
Here we go again.
And that wraps up our weekly roundup. Thanks for joining us, Leah.
Thanks, Tom. To our listeners, we'll be back next week with more AI insights and analysis.
Until then, keep the tokens flowing.
And keep your neural networks well trained. See you next week.